Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Pastor Ben here. It's Friday. You made it. The weekend's here, and even better news, Sunday's coming. And I'm excited, and I pray that you are too. I'm looking forward to our time together. And I was reminded again this week how important the church is to each one of us. And I'm going to get to that here in a second. But just want to share a couple of real quick announcements as we get ready for this Sunday and in the coming weeks and months. First off, if you haven't marked your calendars, go ahead and get them out. Get ready to mark them up because we've got several things happening to finish out the rest of our summer here together. The first one, August 3rd, which is a Wednesday night, we have reserved the pool and we are going to do our family swim night sponsored by our church. And it's just going to be a great time, similar to what we did last year. We rented out the pool, we cooked up some hamburgers and hot dogs, and just invited everyone we knew to come and swim. We even had some baptisms and that type of thing. Well, we're going to do the same thing this year. So we're making preparations. I know it's a little bit early, and I know it kind of conflicts with fair, but that was the only date that we could get, and so we're just kind of going with it. So I hope you can make it. I hope you can make plans to be there. If you can't be there for all of it, maybe some of it, whatever will work for you, we'd sure be happy to see you. And already now, think of somebody you can invite and invite to come have some fun in an atmosphere that hopefully is a lot of fun and people really feel like they would be a part of something. So again, August 3rd. I was just trying to now think of the times. I think it's 5:30. I think that's right, or 6. I'll make sure to have that information for you for sure. But about 5:30 or 6 to 8, I think, is when we have that. So mark your calendars. Make some plans to go to that. We're frying up hamburgers and hot dogs. It'd be awesome if you could bring a side to share. And if you're inviting somebody, just tell them to come. We just want them to be there. And we are making plans to do baptisms. And if that's something that you've been thinking about, something that's been on your list, come talk to me. I'd love to talk to you some more about that. If baptism is not something that you have done, let's make plans to get that done and taken care of. It's an important milestone in the life of a believer, in the life of someone who follows Jesus. And as we continue working our way through Acts and talking about baptisms and talking about other things, I was kind of in a hurry to this last Sunday talk about these 5 characteristics that I saw in Acts chapter 2 and kind of went through those kind of quick and was ready to kind of move on. But as I thought more about that, I want to revisit some of those in a little more detail. And so this Sunday, that's what we're going to be doing, is spending some more focused time on Acts chapter 2. And what I'm really kind of struck by is here in verse 42. Now this follows Peter's sermon. And in verse 40, it says, with many other words, he warned and pleaded with them, save yourself from this corrupt generation. Those who accepted his message were baptized, and about 3,000 were added to their number that day. Then it moves to verse 42, and it says, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship and to the breaking of bread and to prayer. And it goes on. And we're going to spend some time a little later on in the things that follow. But I was drawn back again to those first few descriptors of this early church, this group of believers that were gathering together with intentionality, with purpose. There was intentional discipleship happening. I mean, it says here they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship. Now, what's been interesting as I've gone back and restudied some of this, the word devoted really talks about some intentionality, some purpose, some unwavering commitment to what was happening. So they were committed to the apostles' teaching. Now, remember, there was no New Testament at this time for these new believers to learn about Jesus. That's why what the apostles were teaching was so important. It was firsthand knowledge and experience as they followed Jesus. And so they're teaching people firsthand words and teachings and experiences that they had with Jesus. And they're teaching these new believers, these new followers, all about these teachings of Jesus. And it couples, this is what I thought was really interesting. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship. Those the way that the Greek joins those two things together, I didn't really pay attention to that when we talked about this last Sunday. But this coupling of of teaching and fellowship is it's paramount. It's so important to what begins to happen and for the church to really grow and be healthy as we read through what begins to happen not too much longer after this recording of Luke has here for us. Um, as we read on, there's intense persecution. There's the church is really under attack, and if this devotion to the teaching and to the fellowship had not been where it was, I really think that things would have really scattered much differently than what we see happen. And so, all of that to say, what does this mean for us today? Now, we understand that because of the pandemic, it really changed a whole lot about how the church does church. It changed the way that people gathered. It changed the way that people interact with one another. A lot of things went online, and that's been great in a number of ways. But what's also been missing, and what we are seeing trends happening, is the decline of churches in general, because of finances, because of attendance, and all kinds of different things like that. And and that can be really discouraging as we read that. It's really discouraging as we look at it in light of current culture and things that are happening around us. Um, God has not given up on the church. God still loves the church. God still is working within the church. That is a means that He is using to impact the world that we still see today. The church is flawed. The church has issues. We know that, and we can probably point to many of those things. So what we need to do is kind of get back to some of these basics. What do we see the early church flourishing in? How did they flourish? Why did they flourish? And I'm not talking about just trying to recreate this New Testament church again and try to fit it in current context. But I think we would be mistaken if we didn't pay attention to some principles, to some key characteristics of what we see happen and are described here in Acts. And so, all this to say is, as we gather this Sunday, and as I have been talking with others throughout this last week and even previous weeks, the importance of what the church is, the paramount uh, focus that, or maybe not focus is the right word, but the key that it should hold in our lives, the importance that it should hold. Because within that community, that fellowship, this devotion to the teachings of Jesus, we need that as we face everything that happens day in, day out. I know many of you are facing really hard, really difficult situations and circumstances. I've talked with several of you. Things are hard. And even in my own life and things that we're going through, life's hard. And I am so thankful that we have our church body. I'm so thankful that we have a group of believers that are committed to one another. And we need to grow in this. We need to get better at being intentional in our fellowship, being intentional in our teaching, making sure that Jesus is the key, the center, and Jesus is what we're pointing to in everything that we do and in everything that we say. So I've just really been encouraged, despite some of the hard things that are happening. I'm encouraged because we have a church body. I'm encouraged because God is at work in our church. And I am looking forward to seeing what happens and what will be taking place in the weeks, months, and years to come. I've got some exciting things to share on Sunday in regards to our community center, some exciting updates happening there. God is on the move, and we need to hold on, and we need to try and keep up with him in the direction that he's leading us, and what's happening and taking place. So I wanted to get on here this afternoon. Almost didn't, because I thought, well, I'm going to be preaching again over the same stuff in some ways. Um, there's not any new announcements or anything like that. But as I got to think about this more, and I began to think about you and praying for you, I just want to encourage you today. Come to church. Be in the body and the fellowship of the believers, the gathering that God has called us to, because he's at work and desires to do things in our midst. So whether you're joining us in person or you're joining us online, you're still gathering together, and that's important. But come if you can. We'd love to see you. Our services for our Spanish begin at 9 a.m. Sunday school is at 9:45. Our English service begins at 10:45. We want to see you. We want to gather with you. We want to worship together. We want to experience all the things that God has in store for us and in the direction that he's leading us. So happy Friday. God bless you. Sunday's coming, and I hope to see you then.